Welcome to the Offseason, babies. It is Wednesday, June 26th in Las Vegas, United States. This is What Chaos, presented by Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. My name is DJ Bean. Over there is Pete Blackburn. He's sitting to my left at a very small table here in a Vegas hotel room and looking very despondent. I'm staring right at him. Is a very handsome Sean DePaz. I've never seen you salute that downtrodden. Sean's sad.
Without fail, every single trip that we take, like 2 to 3 days in, Sean is just fighting for his life.
Sean's sick.
I feel like I usually get sick after the trip.
That's how I also remembered it.
This is sick after the first part of the trip. So,
yeah, right. So this would be the aftermath of a normal trip.
It's that stupid fucking weather in Florida.
Although you did make it through the Vegas Toronto haul.
That is true.
Pretty strongly.
Yeah, but I think it was the weather in Florida. Having to go back and forth between that AC, that a million degree weather.
I'll tell you what.
I'm sick too, by the way. I legitimately was coughing up blood this morning.
Oh my God.
Okay, well,
Jesus.
You should go to a hospital.
No.
Now I feel like something bad's coming for me. I feel fucking fine. So I do hate Florida. So I'm on your side there. Florida, why does anybody live there? It is disgusting. The weather. I mean, I know that we typically go in June, but oh my God.
Florida grade A-.
I was on the plane last night, and I had a middle seat, and I felt so fucking bad for people on both sides of me because I knew that I smelled. I knew that I had been sweating. I'd been up since like 7 a.m., running around, didn't get a chance to shower, change my clothes at the airport. I knew that I was pretty stinky.
I'll say there's certain parts of our lovely planet at certain times of the year where I think it is understood if you smell bad. I was going to a music festival in Western Massachusetts a couple years ago. It was horribly hot. It was gross out. It was sticky. I had just gone rollerblading with a friend, and I was like, we should go back and shower before we head there. And they were like, honestly, this is going to sound gross. It doesn't fucking matter. Everyone there is going to smell worse than you. And I was like, really? Fuck. Fine, I guess.
I mean, music festivals, especially a music festival in Western Mass, I would assume that everybody would kind of stink.
But I don't want to smell bad. Even if like everybody else smells bad and it's like, oh, no one's going to notice you smell bad. You know who notices I smell bad? Me. Even with fucking facial hair, if I'm like a little sweaty, every time I take a sip of something, because I don't know what the phenomenon is, Sean probably knows, but like if I take this coffee here and I go like that, it is entrapping my mustache and this little, I guess you would call it a lid, and it's just a small little area where all I can do is smell what is right here.
Yeah.
And if I've been sweating and it's just like that sweaty kind of hair thing, fuck that.
I know. And
gross.
you can escape other people smelling bad. You can't escape yourself smelling bad. So I'm there with you.
Self-fulfilling prophecy too. It's like stress, where it's like if you're like, fuck, do I smell bad? Do I smell bad?
Sweating.
Oh my God, you start sweating, and then you smell bad. But it is the off season. We are in Vegas. We got in very late last night. The most zombified I've ever felt. Pete was a zombie. Sean was leading the way, but we got in. We are not live right now, which is a real big bummer. We are fighting internet and Wi-Fi issues, which is tough because we've got some guests lined up. So looks like daddies are going to go further out of pocket and try to find some podcast studio space while we're here in Vegas so we can keep giving you the good stuff. And good stuff it will be, because we've got the draft on Saturday night. We've got the NHL awards on Friday night. Yeah.
Yep.
Round
1 at least.
What's that?
Round 1 at least. 2 through 7 on
Oh
Saturday.
no, I'm sorry. Round 1 of the draft is Friday. Thursday is the NHL awards. Let's move up what we just said.
Oh yeah, I was barely listening.
I also don't know what day it is. It's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. Yes.
It's Wednesday. Tomorrow, NHL awards. Day after that, the NHL draft. You listen to our show, you know that we have just been hammering NHL draft prospects. Nobody knows the ins and outs of this year's draft like we do, so make sure you keep it here. We will tell you every move that's going to be made, which ones are wise, which ones might be a little bit of a reach.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we got our draft boards. We've been working on them all year. Full pages of scouting reports, prospect reports. We've gone places where other scouts haven't. They've done their Uber ratings.
Yep.
They've done what they got in math class in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we went even further.
I went to
Preview.
Helsinki.
Who do you guys think is going second?
Oh, it's a good question, Sean. It's a good question. That's the type of
Doug Dimsdale,
Demidov.
owner of the Doug's Dimsdale Dimmadome.
In
That
all
guy.
seriousness, I am fascinated by Doug Demidov. I watched a lot of his. I watched a few of his clips and then saw Pete the next day. Shocking, I saw Pete. And I was like, yo, you got to check out this Doug Demidov guy. I know he's going to be a high draft pick. He might be fucking crazy the way that he plays. And
Chaos God.
I think that he's like my number one chaos god on the draft board.
Nice.
And I'll find the clip and I'll show it to you and Sean. Maybe I'll put it in the Discord or something. But I think there is a high Benoit Pouliot chaos god potential with him.
I mean, we can
and
show
I
it on
love
the
that.
show in a later episode because it's not NHL footage.
We could show it on this episode because it's not live.
Oh, true.
Sean,
What a genius.
You come
the man,
through.
The man
and
is
now the
40%.
highlights playing.
wow. So you see what I'm talking about? It's crazy. He could have just a normal human being just passes the puck there.
Agreed.
Crazy.
That was insane.
Do you think he gets away with that at the NHL level, Sean?
I don't know. That's time will tell.
If you haven't picked up on the sarcasm yet, we are not big prospect guys. We know a few. Like, I know Cole Eiserman. I sat next to him on the plane from the draft last year. Seems like a nice guy. Scored
Wow.
like 70 goals in the U.S. National Development Program. We know Caden Lindstrom. We know T.J. Ginla.
Yep.
But we're not thorough draft guys.
Speak for yourself.
We will have draft guests this week because there are plenty of draft geniuses, draft bozos all across the board going to be here in Vegas this week. We're going to talk to some smart people. And so I'm excited to learn.
Yeah. What I'm most excited about with these next few days is the moving and shaking. That's the best part of this, where teams start making moves. Big moves have obviously gone down at the draft. JVR from Philly to Toronto back in the day. Alex DeBrincat traded at the draft. Like big names.
Zach
Corey
Cassian
Schneider
getting
traded at the
to the
draft.
Arizona Coyotes.
What's
Who?
that?
Zach Cassian getting traded to the Arizona Coyotes.
Huge.
Big moves. So,
I mean, before last year's draft, like a day or two, Pierre-Luc Dubois traded to the LA Kings. Now a Washington Capital. So
2015 was the last draft I attended, and that might be the craziest draft in the world. Connor McDavid goes number 1. It was in Florida, weather grade A-. That was the year that at the draft, the Boston Bruins traded 2 core players. At the draft, they traded Milan Lucic and Dougie Hamilton, and then had 3 picks in a row, the infamous Jakub Zaboral, Jake DeBrusk, Zach Senyshyn
fun time.
trio. And now, but you know what? Now, like at this draft, we're probably going to be hearing shit about Jake DeBrusk. We're
Yeah.
going to be like, where's he going to go? He's free agent, all this stuff. This is the good stuff. And I was a beat writer back the last time I was at a draft, so maybe it's different. So I don't think people are going to be doing this anymore. But like, I love agents coming up to you, fucking talking, being like, oh, hey, you're from Boston. You know who's a really good guy? Like player X, who's a pretty bad player, like trying to curry favor and get people excited. But I think a lot of moves are going to, or I want a lot of moves to go down. I am afraid, though, that James Dolan, with a lack of understanding of how the draft works, will be yelling at teams if they trade draft picks. Even though
don't
other
take
teams,
attention away from the New York Rangers, please.
even though once the draft picks are traded, they'll still be used. Yeah. He's like, no. This is at the Sphere. We are not sacrificing draft picks. It's like, guy, if the Sharks give this pick to the Wild, the pick is still made. No trade and draft picks.
There's a lot of uncertainty around some of the moving and shaking. We've heard some names thrown around, but the guys that were almost certain to be traded have already been traded in a lot of cases.
Oh yeah, PLD,
Allmark, Markstrom. So like those ones are already off the board, but we are starting to hear some rumors around guys that have been around the hot stove. I mean, there's John Gibson. His rumors are popping up again. We'll get into some of the guys that could be moved, likely to be moved.
Let's rifle through them now.
Right,
we're on Jeff Skinner buyout watch. That's the big one, or a big one. We're on Jeff Skinner buyout watch. He's got how many years left on his deal? I believe 3.
3 or 4. And
$3 or
$9 million.
It's a big contract. It's a big heart, though. I love him.
I love Jeff Skinner so much, and that's why I am heartbroken, but also I'm kind of optimistic here, and I'm kind of encouraged because Jeff Skinner on a good contract, a contract that is more appropriate to what Jeff Skinner will bring to a team, maybe a playoff team, maybe a team that gets him to the playoffs for the first team in his career. Like, I would love that for Jeff Skinner. But I also, like, Jeff Skinner's been around for the Sabres, and I wanted him to see it through, and I wanted to see the Sabres break through with Jeff Skinner there. So it's a bit of a bittersweet development here.
I'll say this, though. It would be a boon for Jeff Skinner, wouldn't it? Because
still getting that money.
He still gets that money, and he's a really good player, so he's getting another big contract. So if he gets bought out, then his contract for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you get $1.4 million from Buffalo, 4.4, 6.4, 2.4, 2.4, 2.4 from Buffalo, while probably making, I don't know, let's say, I mean, shit, he scored 35 goals 2 seasons ago. He scored 24 goals this year on a not very good team. He's an awesome player. He's a point-a-game player 2 years ago. The year before that, he had 33 goals. So I don't know if he wants to Ryan Suter it or if he just wants to actually. Although it kind of worked out for Ryan Suter.
What are you talking about? Like get your most.
Get the most you possibly can, and he ended up being on a good team, but he ended up being the reason why his good team didn't have more money to get good players.
Yeah,
because he sucks.
I wonder Jeff Skinner's mindset there, and maybe we can talk to him at some
$4
point.
million, like just get like 4 times 3 from a team that is
gonna make the playoffs.
Good.
That guy wants to make the playoffs.
I mean, I've said that I would love Jake DeBrusk in Edmonton on like a low AAV. Jeff Skinner, like if they can just Evander Kane just go away, and then they just throw $4 million a year at Jeff Skinner.
I do have a list of teams that I would be interested to see Jeff Skinner go to and think that there would be interest. He is from Toronto, the Toronto area, so you got to throw the Leafs in there. Absolutely have to. It's a requirement. Leafs got to be on there. The Seattle Kraken need goal scoring. They've been linked to Jake DeBrusk for that exact reason. I think DeBrusk would be a really good fit, but like Jeff Skinner could also be a fit there. Red Wings, could see him in the Red Wings. Blackhawks.
I've got a huge one we haven't said yet. So
not exactly pushing towards the playoff narrative if he goes to the Blackhawks, but they could give him a bunch of money. He could play on the wing, give them some goal-scoring help. The Minnesota Wild, the Edmonton Oilers, the Los Angeles Kings, and perhaps the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I got one more. One more.
The Boston Bruins.
No place like home.
The Carolina
Hurricanes would be. Jeff Skinner would be great for the Carolina Hurricanes, especially if they lose Gensel.
Yeah.
And even if they don't lose Gensel, like depending on what they do with those defensemen and how much money they throw around there, if he can be had for a decent price, I don't know what the relationship is there, but I assume that like no one has a bad relationship with Jeff Skinner. I think that maybe they're just like fucking Jeff Skinner.
I did think about it. I just don't know how much Jeff Skinner is like a Rod Brindamore type of player.
I could see that.
So I don't know. Like I thought about it. It would be a cool story for him to go back. I don't know if I see it happening.
Well, on the Gensel watch, very excited to see what happens with Gensel. Would like Gensel to stay with Carolina, by the way, but who knows? The Red Wings trade our dancing friend Jake Wallman to the Sharks with a second-round pick to free up cap space. He makes $3.4 million this year and next. I'm kind of surprised you got to staple a draft pick to that guy. He's solid, good, not great. I do think that he's going to be fun as hell on the Sharks. Mario Ferrero, Jake Wallman.
Content boys.
What? Just fucking content boys.
Are the Sharks assembling the all-content team?
We should look up we should see if there's any content boys in this draft. I mean, we already know because we've been running our boards like crazy, but let's double check our boards to find who the best content boy is in the draft.
Okay, yeah.
And see if, because the Sharks don't just have number one, which we don't even know who they're taking there. But maybe they take a content boy.
There's been a lot of talk about Trevor Zegras and maybe him being traded out of Anaheim. What if he goes to the Sharks? Content boy.
I will fall out of this hotel window if the Sharks get Trevor Zegras.
Why?
Because I like the Sharks. Love you, Trevor Zegras.
I don't think
just
you do.
am trying to figure out.
It doesn't seem like you do.
I'm just trying to figure out where is maybe perfect for you to go.
I think this is a big year for Trevor Zegras.
I was kidding, by the way,
that.
when I said we don't know who the Sharks are taking. Some people claim to know who the Sharks are taking. We just don't know if there's a content boy who's better than Macklin Celebrini.
I mean, that's only one pick. They could trade. They could trade it.
They have
into
multiple.
The first pick,
I
first
believe
round.
they have multiple first-round picks.
Oh, do they really? I'm very up to date on my board, so I do know this.
Could you check your board,
But
please?
let me check my board real quick.
Board boys.
Let me check my board and see. The San Jose Sharks confirmed on the board with 2 first-round picks. They have one from the trade that acquired
Tomas Hertl.
Erik Karlsson.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's not so bad. Oh yeah, that's right. Tomas Hertl, I believe, was next year. We have some news, I should say, on the. Oh, actually, let's quickly do. What do you think the Red Wings are doing with that money? Do you think it's Gensel? Do you think it's John Gibson? Do you think?
John Gibson would be very funny if they when they use that money to go acquire John Gibson. Dave Pagnotta of the Fourth Period is saying that the Ducks are shopping John Gibson actively, which is not a big surprise. I think Lucas Dostal is the guy for that team in net. And when you look at John Gibson making nearly $6.5 million for the next 3 years, he's 30 years old. He has not been good for the last handful of years. Collective save percentage of .900. I think it's time for those boys to move on. Would love to see John Gibson somewhere else. Detroit would be a funny destination, not because they don't need a goaltender, but because, boy, they love an overrated American goaltender.
Trading for a not very good goalie could not be any team that we know.
Yeah, fuck! I hate that can apply now.
Oh, yeah, the Bruins are now
Jonas Corposalo.
hey, cool goalies, weirdo. Last year was incredible.
I'm still trying to be patient on the Corposalo thing because everybody had an air of why did they do this with the Ullmark thing? But there was more proof to Ullmark potentially being a good goalie with term.
Who was the
Corposalo.
why can't I think of his name? Oilers goalie who the Bruins got, who is an objectively bad goalie, and they got him to be Tuukka's backup. And everyone's like, what do you... Jonas Gustafsson.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And he was fine.
Yeah.
Monster was his nickname.
Corposalo might be fine. I think that in all likelihood, Corposalo is going to be fine. But
he'll be on a better team.
You're paying $3 million for a fine goalie for the next 4 years, which I don't think you need to do.
Casey Middlestat gets $5.75 million times 3.
Before we do that, going back to the Red Wings thing, I do think that they're probably trying to make a big splash with a guy like Gensel. I don't think you clear Wallman to go for John Gibson. I could be wrong.
Good behavior to be that team, though, to be the Wings, as it were. Is that good behavior? That's where you're spending all your money?
Why?
You know what I'm saying?
No.
DeBrincat, Gensel, that's your play. That's the identity of your team. Typically teams that are just we're going to load up on really, really good wings isn't always, in this hard cap league, isn't always the path to success.
Here's the other option, though, that we haven't mentioned, Steven Stamkos. Steve Yzerman famously knows Steven Stamkos pretty well.
Famously from they
went to high
junior
school
coach.
together.
Yeah.
That could be a very sensible option for the Detroit Red Wings.
I would love. I would
really
like that more than I'd
like
like
that.
Gensel.
Yeah, I agree. For the identity of that team, for like kind of pushing forward as a youngish team that needs some more leadership. Stamkos going there with his flexibility in the lineup. He would also look real good in that Red Wings sweater.
It would be incredible. I think that might need to be on the set. Middle stat. Casey gets $5.75 million times 3 from the Colorado Avalanche. Sean DePaz, how you feel about your boy getting that money?
It's not my boy anymore, but happy
What
for
the
him.
fuck, Sean?
I don't know him.
Sean,
Sorry to this man.
I'm still not totally over how quickly Sean turned on Chris Knobloch, but
wait.
like I'm getting more and more examples of like that's just how it works.
I don't get it.
I don't have a problem with
you're celebrating Kyle Oposo and Sam Reinhart being like, yo, those are my boys. They mean a lot to me. They're near and dear to my heart. They were Buffalo Sabres once. And now we're talking about Casey Middlestat, and he's like, fuck that guy.
I didn't say fuck that guy. I just said he's not my
You
boy
said,
anymore.
I don't know him.
I said he's not my boy anymore. He signed a new contract with a new team.
Is Sean a fraud?
Go ahead. Cool. And also, Kyle Oposo is awesome because he's been in the league for 30 fucking years. And so I was happy that he finally got a cup. Casey's young and still got plenty of time. So like, I'll be happy whenever he wins a cup, I guess. But
Sean
I don't feel about him the same way I do Oposo.
Sean practicing what we in the biz called ageism.
Yes.
I also, if there is ammunition against Sean's hatred for Casey Middlestat did take a shot at the Buffalo Sabres like 4 minutes after leaving Buffalo.
Yeah.
After his first practice in Colorado was like, oh, this is what practicing for real feels like.
I don't blame him for that, though. I think in the moment I was like, Don Granado, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I think a lot of people were
pretty
saying
bad.
that.
That's a pretty bad sign. I didn't hold that against Casey. But, yeah, I don't have a problem with Casey Middlestat. I just don't have like an extreme emotional attachment to him at this point.
That's a really good deal for the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, I love it.
And for Casey Middlestat,
Yes,
probably.
because he'll be absolutely paid if like you keep that term low. Get to free agency at what? How old is he? Is he 25?
Probably 26, 25.
25.
You're 2 for 2.
I've been on like a little bit of a heater with ages. Usually my trick with that is like you tell me a song from the 90s and I'll be like, I know what year. Not with people though.
Yeah. You know who's not on a heater with ages
Who?
is Dr. Disrespect. So
what's that? Oh, that's that guy that everyone that's in the
A
news.
minor.
Oh, okay, one of those. Not good behavior. Do you know what today is, by the way, boys? It's the off season.
It's Sean's birthday.
Sean's birthday. Happy birthday, love. Today is breakup day for the Edmonton Oilers, and we're getting some news out of Edmonton.
It's breakup day because all the couples that have Oilers season tickets are now forced to break up.
That's right, because of that
they
NHL
didn't win the
commercial.
Stanley Cup.
I gotta say, a June 26th breakup day gotta feel fucking horrible. You want to bang out an April 25th breakup day? You're
Get
like
that summer going, baby.
June 26th breakup day. That sucks, especially when like what did they, so they probably flew back not last night, the night before. Had like 5 hours to hate their life, and then they got to fucking get ready to go to work to talk about being failures. Breakup day fucking sucks. There's only one good breakup day a year, and it's an absolute blast. Been fortunate enough to see one of those, but man,
Edmonton Oilers breakup day has to be like particularly tough too, because there's just some people in that market that are not subtle with their questions.
yeah, oh yeah, like they go in it to that June 26th breakup day, and they're like, "I knew it."
You fucking failures.
You never had it. You could have. You fooled them. You didn't fool me. Question 1: why are you so pissy? That would
Gonna be a tough day for the boys down in Edmonton.
we should make a business that's like breakup day candy grams or whatever. We show up to breakup days like like literal fucking clowns, balloons,
barbershop
cheer up,
quartet,
woo!
barbershop quartet,
Yeah.
asking the questions after your team loses.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a great idea.
You got to cheer them up, but I'm sure it's a tough time at Rogers Place right now. From Daniel Nugent-Bowman, though, great beat writer from The Athletic, Leon Draisaitl on his contract situation. It's going to take time to figure out what I want and what the Oilers want. He adds, I love being an Oiler more than anything. July 1, do you think? Or do you think if July 1 passes and we don't get that, I'm not going to be worried, but I'm going to be a lot less happy than I would have been if it was just like, hey, clock strikes midnight or noon or whenever the fuck you can do it, and Leon Draisaitl, 8 years, $13.5 million a year, bang.
Yeah, but you do realize that happens. You're saying goodbye to Evan Bouchard, buddy.
I've been on the how should I phrase this? I've been on the I'm not buying a place with Evan Bouchard thing, and Oilers fans are going to kill me for saying that. I just don't. At some point, the math isn't going to math, and if you move Darnell Nurse somehow, then awesome. You can have 3 players making an absolute ton of money. You still got 2 more years of Stuart Skinner not making anything, so that's fine.
Evan Bouchard, the relationship with Evan Bouchard right now does feel like the kind of a relationship with a partner where you're like, damn, this is a whole lot of fun. We're really enjoying spending time together right now. This is enhancing my life. We're probably not going to get married, and that's fine.
I'd love to be wrong about this, but it gives me a little... The Blackhawks had some of those players, and the Blackhawks are the best comparison, I feel, for this, because they ended up giving 2 players, I want to say like 14% of the cap each or something, and they... Like, you think they didn't have Artemi Panarin because they didn't like the player?
Right.
They just couldn't have that many guys that were making a lot of money.
And that's the credit to the Blackhawks too for that run, that dynastic run that they had, is that they were so good at drafting the players to then step up when they had to get rid of the tough sells, I guess, or the tough breakups like Panarin, like there was Brandon Saad, like a lot of those guys that they moved on before they probably would have liked to, but they had the next guys waiting in the wings.
I'll just say I would do anything. You figure it out later. I would do anything for McDavid and Draisaitl long term. You could, and then you just figure out the rest later. I know that it's dicey and it's tricky. I think the most off the top of my head that I can think of like giving one player all the cap was 2006 when Chara got 17% of the cap, which was just bananas. But that's only one player. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to do. I don't know if both of those guys take some sort of discount. Like is $13.5 million a year, which is the number I threw out. Is that fair to Leon Draisaitl? If he goes to free agency, I'm sure that he could find a team that would give him more than that. It would be on a 7-year deal unless they trade his rights. But I will.
It's not going to be like so much more than it though. Like,
yeah, it does reach a point where you're like, we can't give a guy $15 million.
Yeah.
But especially in the case of like McDavid, I think that whatever McDavid ends up taking is going to automatically be a discount because he truly could be like
$20 million.
Give me $16 million a year. So that's an update there. And then a little rumor from former hockey player. You were saying before you don't even know who this guy is, Scotty Upshall.
Mm-hmm.
He played hockey.
Say that.
Yeah. Source telling me that Ken Holland could be on his way to the Chicago Blackhawks. Position to be determined. Could this be the beginning of building new dynasty there in Chi-Town? They have the cap space and the draft picks! ! We'll see how this plays out. Immediately from Jay Zawoski of CHGO, high-ranking Blackhawks source told me there is no truth to this, adding that the rumor is, quote, bizarre. That's how I feel about that as well.
That is exactly how I feel about that.
That's weird, said a source.
Yeah, especially because I forget who put it out there yesterday. I think it was Darren Drager said that, and if I'm wrong, sorry.
I think it was Drager that was basically
like, there is a job for Ken Holland in Edmonton's front office if he wants to take it. there's uncertainty as to whether or not he wants to continue.
Ball's in his court.
Right. And I think they said he was not going to the draft. So I don't know. Like, it would be very weird for Ken Holland at this point in his career, given where the Edmonton Oilers are as a franchise and how close they are to that glory, to be like, Chicago Blackhawks, I'm going to take on that project. But I mean, I guess Steve Yzerman did the same fucking thing, but that was also with the team that he is most linked with the Detroit Red Wings.
I just realized that we are both wearing Ducks gear.
We are, yeah.
We're both wearing you Ducks hat. I got that Frank Vetrano shirt. It's an absolute beauty. And yesterday was Pete's birthday, but today is also his birthday because it's a big jersey day in hockey. The Fanatics era has officially begun for the NHL. R.I.P. Adidas. We spent all that money on all these jerseys. Now we got to throw them out and get new ones so they're up and they're current. Kings new jerseys revealed. Ducks new jerseys revealed. Pete, give us a rundown.
Do you want to do a read here before we get into that stuff or no?
Yeah, we might as well. Let's do that. Okay, Shady Rays. This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. When I'm outside and I see the sun, I see him through some nice lenses. Those are polarized lenses, quality polarized lenses, premium polarized shades from Shady Rays. What I love about Shady Rays is that they do not break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have been durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. I wear them when I rollerblade. I wear them when I go out for a walk. I wear them as a don't talk to me signal. There's so many things you can do with Shady Rays, including lose them and have them replaced by this awesome... Sean's picking up his mic.
Do you do you take someone wearing sunglasses as them not wanting to talk to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't understand that one either.
Okay,
if we had like a headphones brand, I could understand that.
Shout out our friends at Bose.
There was an article outlining how to speak to women wearing headphones like a number of years ago.
You see that, Sean?
Was it just a one-word article that said don't?
No, it was like a handy dandy guide to pestering women and ruining their day.
So it was an article that should have just been a one-word
article
that said
yeah,
don't.
this was worse than what you were thinking. No, sometimes I'll be in the middle of a conversation with somebody. They'll be talking to me. I just look them right in the eye, take out those Shady Rays, put them on.
All right, now I'm seeing the vision here.
And
if you do it
mid-conversation and then like walk away, hell yeah, that is a
fair enough.
Shady Rays gives you a get out of a conversation card for free.
And they're like, well, now I don't even want to talk about what I was talking about before because those are some premium polarized lenses.
Also, one of the good things about sunglasses is that you can't see where your eyeballs are going.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're in the middle of a conversation and somebody's losing you and you just whip out a pair of those Shady Rays, throw them on, you can be, like, checking your phone and ignoring this person as they speak to your face.
You know what I'll do sometimes?
You're kind of onto something.
Man. I think that plan works a little better in theory, but I get what you're saying.
Sometimes I'll put on the sunglasses in a conversation, and you know what I'm doing underneath the sunglasses?
Taking a nap?
I'm going like...
I just love the idea that you're
even
like,
though my mouth and my head are also...
I love the idea that you pull out the
I'm like doing this.
You pull out the sunglasses, and you have your phone in front of your face, and you're like, I wonder where I'm looking.
Yeah, just say I'm taking a picture of you. I'm recording this conversation. Okay. It's so interesting. So and they can't see what your eyes are doing. So you're out of jail, baby.
Shady Rays is
the number one
primary ingredient to most leave me alone recipes. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season.
Best ad read of all
yes,
time.
I can't wait till people get some Shady Rays and be like, send pictures of yourself wearing them and be like, I haven't spoken to my husband for a week. Thanks, what chaos. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code AC35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is also Smooth Sack Summer. It is officially upon us. Hockey is over. Summer has officially begun, and that means it's time to play in the summer sun, which means you need to be groomed, Groomed from your pubes to your bum, not pubed from your grooms to your bum.
I would argue that's the opposite of what you're going for.
Definitely. Absolutely true. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. You can get 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use promo code WhatChaos. You'll find plenty of incredible items at manscaped.com, including the Performance Package 5.0, the Lawnmower 5.0. That baby's got LED lights. It's got waterproof technology. It can wireless charge. What else are you shaving your body hair with that gets wireless charging?
That the LED light means you can wear your Shady Rays and still shave.
Shady Rays in the dark with an LED light.
Yeah.
Manscaped it, baby. That's how you cross promote on one podcast episode. Again, that is manscaped.com using code WhatChaos for 20% off and free shipping. Summertime and the trimming's easy.
Big news. I did not know this. Don't totally understand why. The Oilers Nation boys are in Vegas.
Are they really?
Yeah. Tyler just posted a picture of like all of them by the pool, and it's like, in Vegas, ready to rock. They're the best.
I mean, do they not have draft picks
No.
at all?
Yeah,
They've got a second.
those boys are committed to the grind just like we're committed to the grind. We
Yeah.
don't really have a fucking reason to be here. We want to be here. We're
Want to.
content boys.
Yeah. Love of the game.
I mean, it is. I feel like we've kind of understood the fact, or haven't talked about it recently. Like, this is the last draft ever, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
So
It's
everyone's
everyone's
first
first draft.
yeah. Good call,
Good coming for the party.
Yeah. And it's the Sphere. There's a lot of reasons to want to be here. I
Also, if you just spent 27 days covering the playoffs, whatever, take a fucking trip to Vegas. Why not?
Yeah. I
What's one
also
more?
think that the draft is one of the best events on the NHL calendar from a media perspective, just because it is the last day of school. It has the most last day of school vibes, while also carrying first day of school vibes, because this is where teams start to build their teams for next year. So I love the draft. I'm bummed that this is the last in-person one, but hey, we're in Vegas. It's at the Sphere. There's a lot of exciting things going on. I'm very excited that the Oilers Nation boys are here.
I've got mixed feelings on the Fanatics era, but much like when Sean, do I make a Donald Trump winning the presidency reference here or no?
I feel like it's a little too late now.
Okay. I'll be honest. I was not one of those. I'm going to give him a chance. I was more of like I'm worried, period. And also I'm scared. With Fanatics, I am firmly in the I'm going to give them a chance camp.
Same.
So
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm on both sides. I am worried, but I'm going to give them a chance. And I've seen a lot of criticisms for Fanatics being like, "Oh, garbage product, blah blah blah. They're gonna find a way to screw this up."
We've all been burned.
Yeah, exactly.
We know.
Exactly. And there are signs that Fanatics wants to do this right. And that's why I'm going to give them a chance. They're hiring a lot of the same people that did great things at Adidas. And as of right now, all you're kind of getting is a swap out of the logo on the back of the jersey.
Which is a massive downgrade, in my opinion.
Yes, that's a thing. Ugh,
I was talking about this with you, one of you the other day, off air, I believe. My problem with it is not necessarily that it's a bad logo, although I'm not crazy about it. It's that all the other jerseys that we've seen in sports were from athletic wear companies. Now this jersey is being made by a website where you buy T-shirts. And it's like not a logo I associate with athletic apparel.
But that's what they're trying to change, baby. That's
I
why
know,
they're doing
but-
this.
So then should they have rebranded?
I would have loved different. Yeah, I would have.
We talked about this.
approved that.
The Fanatics logo is really, really close to the Fabletics
Yep.
logo.
Yes.
I think they
So-
could have definitely done with a brand offshoot or something where it's still Fanatics, but it's like this is our
Fanatics Pro. or
yeah, like this
something.
is our athletic apparel, a more athletic logo. It is very
What if they just did like
Fanny.
Mitchell and Ness? That would be
It would
like
be
a
confusing
weird.
because that's supposed to be a throwback thing, but
I also
we
don't
all
think you can
know.
have 3 names on the back of a jersey. It would Mitchell, Ness, and whichever player is wearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we all know that, like, what the fuck is Mitchell and Ness these days anyway?
Because they're owned by Fanatics.
Yeah.
That's the point. Yeah. So the Fanatics thing, I'm waiting for them to screw it up. I'm waiting for them to screw it up. Part of me thinks that it's inevitable at some point, but I'm not reaching for reasons to criticize them. I saw some people with the jerseys that came out today. I think the LA Kings jerseys, like their white jerseys, you can see the CCM logo on the shoulder pads through the jersey. That happened with Adidas as well.
I was gonna say we're gonna get on Fanatics for shit that happens anyway. We were on the ice after the Panthers were on the ice for some reason the other night, and did you like look at their jerseys? They're obviously blood stained and everything, but there's like shit on them, and there's like they're little tears here and there, and like they're playing fucking hockey. The first time there's like a tear in a player's jersey, people are gonna be like, "Oh, great, Fanatics," and it's gonna be like, "Well, he was playing hockey."
Mm-hmm. And if anybody has been paying attention to the Aesthetics updates, like Aesthetics cares about that shit more than anybody in the world, and they seem very encouraged by the things that Fanatics are doing. They're even like improving the quality of the practice jerseys. Like the stitching is really, really solid, I guess, on these current jerseys. But like basically what you saw from Adidas over the past handful of years is going to remain the same with Fanatics, at least in the short term, because they took over that plant. They retained a lot of the same people from Adidas. They're hiring a lot of people to improve quality control. So I'm giving Fanatics a chance, and they've reached out to us to talk to us and be like, and I know they're doing this with a lot of other people, they want to talk to people and be like, what are your concerns? What are you worried about? What can we improve? What do you need us to be better at?
Great behavior.
I
Great
like that
behavior
a lot.
And I told you, you said I was already planning on doing it. I was like, I need you to be honest as fuck and critical in all the areas you would be, because A, that can maybe help this thing, and also they're gonna listen to people who aren't bullshitting them.
Who are mean.
Yeah, not necessarily being mean, but like if you're like, oh, and they say like, and then we're doing this, you're like, oh, okay, that's cool or whatever. Like, ask fucking questions, like be critical. That's why they want to have these conversations. They'll probably be a little offended, but fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I tweeted at one point that like I want Michael Rubin to be thrown in prison. Might not say that if he's in the vicinity of this event or whatever, but yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give him my real concerns. I think chief among those concerns is that they now essentially have a monopoly on jerseys, where you have the breakaway jerseys, you have the now quote unquote authentics, and then they have the Mitchell and Ness, and then like even a tier above that, they have the literal game-worn jerseys that they are going to be manufacturing and selling for like an absurd price point, which I think is like $600.
I love that though, because the Adidas jerseys that we wear now, the authentic ones, are not the ones that are actually worn. So
Right.
like they are.
But there's no real reason to.
And then there's no right. Like
Those are for like collectors only.
Yeah, these ones, I mean, the authentic ones we have still feel, and I say this endearingly, like thick and heavy and boxy and all those sorts of things that feel less like you're just kind of draping on like we were with people at the game the other night who were wearing the Fanatics ones.
I'll be
And
honest, I like the Fanatics
those
ones.
fall like you have you love your Flames one. I have a Rangers one that I like a lot. Like
the Sabres one.
they're
like,
very easy for just kind of go. Sean, isn't your Cannon jersey that one?
It's like the lower level Fanatics one.
Yeah.
But that
you like it, right?
Yeah.
It wears very well.
Yeah, more
That's
than fine.
a Fanatics thing where I've really never had any sort of issue.
The issue is like how does it hold up? Like it wears well, it looks good as long as they get the name printing correctly, which has become a problem for
dicey.
their quality control. But I'm not totally. I'm a little afraid to wash those jerseys just because of the quality. So that's where they could maybe improve.
I was gonna ask,
Do
do you
wash-
wash your jerseys? You toss them in the wash?
I don't think
I
I've
do.
washed any of them, but
I've never.
It's because I'm afraid to. I would get them dry.
I don't
cleaned.
dry them, but I wash them.
I'm a
I
dry
like air
clean
dry
boy.
'em.
Yeah, I would get mine dry cleaned before I threw it in the
with
washing
with
machine.
soccer kits, I will hand wash them
Ooh.
and then air dry
Fancy
them.
boy.
Yeah, but other than that, any other jersey, I'm taking to the cleaner.
While we're talking about jerseys and specific jerseys, let's do the big news today, which is the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings have officially unveiled the jerseys. We had a very, very good idea of what these jerseys were going to look like, thanks to leaks, thanks to reports. They both came out. Neither one of them was particularly shocking, but there are some interesting takeaways. There's some interesting little surprises. But ultimately, the big takeaway, they both look good. They're both significant upgrades. I like them both a lot. I have some criticisms, some things that maybe I'd like to see change, and we can get into those. But overall speaking, how do you feel about the rebrands for both the Kings and the Ducks now that we've seen them in an official capacity?
Kings, barely an A. A is very good, but like it's got some A- leanings. I'm not loving. Did they change the lettering of, like, say, the A? Is that the same A that they were using before in this picture?
Let me see. Where is it?
That's the only thing that stood out to me not being great. I think that the bolder Kings
I'm not really sure.
word mark is.
It doesn't bother me even if it's
The
different.
letter looks pretty similar.
Okay. I think that the redone chevron logo looks great on a jersey. I think that the bolder Kings font is so much better. I'll take it. It looks a lot better on a jersey than it looked just on its own. So that's nice. And then Ducks, I was told, as part of a deal, I had to, in the event that the Ducks had orange pants, I needed to denounce that because, quote, orange pants are not acceptable.
Who is that from again?
It's from a high-ranking source. I personally, sorry, friend, I personally don't hate the orange pants at all, and I think
I
that
like
the
'em.
shot of the whole jersey, the whole uniform looks great.
I like it so much
Yeah.
more than I thought that I would now that I see it fully put together. And maybe it's just because like the shock has worn off from being like, whoa, what the fuck? That's a lot of orange. I think it looks good.
I like it a lot on the white jerseys.
So I'm still like undecided
yeah.
about how I feel with the shoulder yoke on the white jerseys with the orange shoulder
I
yoke.
like that, I think.
But like overall, my big complaint is that the striping's a little bit more boring. I kind of wanted to see them do the original striping with the Mighty Ducks uniform. And that's sort of where my complaint lies with the Kings as well. Like that big ass white stripe on the black jersey
oh, yeah.
is not amazing, but
Looks like they're wearing a fucking sweatshirt around their waist.
but it's still an upgrade. I also really like the previous version of the arm striping on the Kings jerseys that they wore as alternates with the chrome helmets versus what they're doing now, which is way more boring. Like you see the black takes up most of the bottom half of the sleeve with the thick sparkly silver stripe. That looks way better in my mind. But I mean, those are small complaints. Both these teams are going to look significantly better next year due to this rebrand. And off the full orange bit, I also really like that you've now got 3 teams in California who have essentially color rush uniforms.
Yeah.
You have the Sharks who did the full teal kit, which initially I wasn't crazy about them doing full teal. I think it looks amazing on the ice. Jury's still out on how full orange is going to look on the ice, but I like that you've got full teal, you've got full orange, and you've got full black with the Kings. Like they seem to be kind of have a little bit of synergy to them.
You want to know honestly what my biggest problem with the Ducks jerseys are?
What?
Is that the Cutter Gauthier revenge games are going to look fucking obnoxious.
They're gonna look terrible.
They're gonna look
terrible.
so
There's gonna be
bad
so
on the
much
ice.
orange.
And it's that makes me sad. But I mean, I've been consistent in saying that the colors were always the bigger issue for me than the logo. But definitely an improvement. But the Cutter Gauthier revenge game is not going to look as good.
Huge point of improvement on the Ducks uniforms is the names and numbers. The names and numbers font is really, really good. I love the gold accent and the black drop shadow on the numbers. I think it looks great. That's an absolute must-cop jersey for me.
I was going to say, are we getting a Frank for the set?
I think we gotta
Get a Frank.
Gotta get one. I did get a text from a person within the Kings within the last 5 minutes. It says, "Hey, you want to come collect this Kings jersey that I got for you?" So,
Wow.
buddy, I will be wearing an LA Kings jersey in Vegas, which puts me in a precarious situation because I am currently wearing a Ducks hat that would look incredible paired with a Kings jersey because
That
it's
is
the
true, yes.
black and white. So, yeah, I'm very excited about both these rebrands. Shout out to the Ducks for finally having a respectable jersey. Big step forward.
I'm excited to see one of these get our hands on one of these jerseys. I know that we're going to see them all at some point, but it's going to be cool.
Haven't even mentioned the Kings are doing the matte black helmets.
Good.
With these jerseys, and I love that. They did on the white jersey. They do have the white buckets. Got to go chrome. Please keep the chrome. I love the chrome. I know it's polarizing. Matte black on the homes and chrome on the aways. Fucking incredible.
Chrome in, David out.
I love the chrome.
I am anti-chrome.
Lame.
I would suck the chrome off of that helmet and make it a different
that
color.
Makes it sound like you like the chrome. I wouldn't mind if they did. So, like, I didn't realize this until we went to Columbus that the Blue Jackets wear the cannons when they play division opponents. Like, if you do something like that with the chrome, where you're like, just division opponents will pull out the chrome, otherwise we're just going to wear the white one on the road, I'd be fine with that.
I like that because the Oilers will be like, look how stupid they look. What are we going to be?
Well, we already know
these guys.
We already know that the Kings and Ducks are like absolutely in cahoots with their jersey
they
matchups.
have to be, right?
They've loved just like planning their outfits around each other. So that's going to happen. Speaking of the Blue Jackets, Todd McClellan, leader in the clubhouse, apparently to be the next head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Would love it.
Why?
Because it's an adult. They need a retread, boring, whatever, fine enough coach. He hasn't been a great coach, I don't think, in kind of a while, but fuck it. I'll take that. I don't want them taking risks. I was saying before, who's our college coach that everybody was saying was going to get a job? David Carl. I was saying no, Carl. Not yet for this team. Get them an old guy who means business. And as long as he's not like mailing it in at this point in his career, I think that Todd McClellan is an absolutely fine choice for the Blue Jackets. Whoever they hire, I'm going to say is a great choice anyway, because I am very biased in favor of the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I think he's totally fine. I agree with what you're saying there. Also, they would become the strongest Todd team in the league.
Wow.
Because our pal Todd
Sherrick, the best.
I don't know. Now I feel bad if I'm mispronouncing his name.
His name is Sam, actually.
Yes.
Carrick.
He rocks. He's the best. He's been great to us. So strong Todd vibes in Columbus.
Speaking of being biased, we sent out a tweet today saying what we were going to do on the show, and I can't remember if we said that we were going to do this yesterday, but the last 2 days have been all Panthers all the time. They had to be. They're the Stanley Cup champs. What a season they had. Amazing. Gave them their flowers. And we were going to talk about the Oilers season and how crazy it was, and we were like, you know what? Let's kick it down a day or two, because once we get going on the Oilers, we can kind of stay there for a while, and it would seem a little disrespectful to the Stanley Cup champs to make the cup is over conversation about the team that lost it. So today is the day that we are going to give some love to the Oilers in just the most action-packed season. Like, the Oilers just had one of the most exciting seasons we've ever seen from a team. And no, they didn't win the Stanley Cup, but there was madness beginning to end. Action-packed, I would say, is the way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Teabag team, as one would call them.
Now explain that.
Because they are a team that needs to be in hot water for quite some time before the flavor starts to come out. And when you're talking about this Edmonton Oilers season, the first place you start is the start, because they sucked.
Okay, let's start with a home and home with the Canucks. And after losing to Vancouver on opening night, they took it back to Rogers Place and lost to Vancouver again. Then they beat the Predators 6-1. Jack Campbell's best game of the season. He made 43 saves. Oilers lost again to the Flames. Then Connor McDavid got hurt against the Jets, and the Oilers kept losing. They lost 6 of their first 7 games. McDavid missed time for the first time in over 3 years. Not the best start for the boys.
No, and vibes were very bad. They continue to get bad, especially knowing that the Heritage Classic was right on the doorstep. And then you were talking about a marquee NHL event with the Oilers sucking and potentially no Connor McDavid in the lineup for that game.
Well, he did return for that Heritage Classic at Commonwealth Stadium against the Flames.
Maybe
some
a little
might
too
say
early.
too early. Stu Skinner got the net. Oilers won. Watch out, bitches. They had 2 wins on the season. Then the Oilers returned to playing in hockey arenas and returned to losing. They dropped another 3 in a row. People were screaming for Ken Holland, who is in the last year as team president, to do something about the goaltending. On November 7th, Holland placed Jack Campbell on waivers. He was in the second year of a 5-year deal with a $5 million cap hit, but had an .873 save percentage on the season. 1 year after having an .888 save percentage, they called up Calvin Pickard, who really most of us knew for being the bad goalie on the Avalanche.
Oh yeah,
million years ago.
Yeah, the intentionally bad goalie on the Avalanche. Not that he was intentionally bad, but they were in search of an intentionally bad goaltender because they were tanking and they were awful.
Yeah. So the next game was against the Sharks, which was notable because the only team with a worse record than the Oilers at that point was the Sharks. Edmonton had 5 points. San Jose had 3. We hyped it up like freaking crazy.
It was unironically one of my favorite games of the year, because we hyped it up as the Oil Shark Bowl. It became a whole thing. Not to give ourselves a pat on the back, we got a lot of people excited about that game. Like, people were tuning into that game being like, these guys won't fucking shut up about this game, and seem to be so excited about it. Why?
I think so too. And if memory serves, I think we both kind of thought the Sharks were going to win that game.
Yeah, because the Oilers kept losing.
But I mean, the Sharks were
The Sharks got
terrible.
a win right before the Oil Shark Bowl.
That is true.
We were very mad at them because we thought it would be way funnier if they beat the Oilers for their first victory of the season. The Sharks had beaten the Philadelphia Flyers in that game previously. Took a little air, we thought, out of the Oil Shark Bowl. But ultimately, the Oil Shark Bowl delivered because the Sharks won.
Now, they'd already done kind of some sort of half-measure thing with the goaltending by sending Campbell down and bringing up Calvin Pickard. People still thought that maybe they'd try to make a move for a goalie because Skinner wasn't playing that well, and it didn't seem like they had anybody who they could totally trust. The other question was, if they lose to the Sharks, do they fire Jay Woodcroft in his 3rd season with the Oilers? You will never believe what happened in this game.
Well, that's kind of like underselling it, because I feel like for almost a week, if not longer, we were asking every game after every Oilers loss, are they going to fire Jay Woodcroft? Will they fire Jay Woodcroft? And then it got to the point where we were on like Oil Shark Bowl Eve, and we were like, oh, if they lose this game, they 100% are firing Jay Woodcroft, maybe leaving him in the arena and moving on without him. That didn't happen.
That's right. Jay Woodcroft famously worked for the Sharks. I forget what his role was there. He was an assistant coach, something like that. Should be like, yo, just stay here, man.
Go hang with your old friends.
This is your thing. The Oilers did lose that game 3-2. Could you give me one of the Oilers goal scorers? Do you remember? One was a big name. One was kind of all people name.
Did Cody Ceci score in that game?
Cody Ceci didn't score in that game. Close.
Darnell Nurse?
Darnell Nurse and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins were the Oilers' goal scorers in that game. Just big guns having to come through for the boys. Coach getting fired seemed like a given, but the Oilers also were in such a bad spot that people were asking, us included, we were like, are the Oilers going to end up losing Leon Draisaitl because of this? Like, are they going to have a lost season and come the off season, is Draisaitl going to be like, I'm not re-signing? Like, we were talking about all of these nightmare scenarios, and at the same time, pulling our hair out because we couldn't understand why they were so bad and why they kept losing.
And why they wouldn't do anything about it in terms of firing Jay Woodcroft. Like, they did. We were asking the question over and over and over again. Then they lose that game. Don't fire Jay Woodcroft. We're like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, really, really bad. Stu Skinner, by the way, had an .854 save percentage on the season at that point. So the sky was falling, and there was a lot of pressure on them to do something. And after their next game, a win, by the way, incidentally, they fired Jay Woodcroft and replaced him with Hartford Wolfpack head coach Chris Knobloch, who famously was Connor McDavid's head coach in the OHL. Team had an up and down first few games under Knobloch, winning 2, then losing 3 in a row. Third loss was particularly disappointing given that it was on the eve of U.S. Thanksgiving, popular point in the season for assessing who might be in the playoffs and who might not be in the playoffs. It was okay, though, because in this particularly frustrating game, I want to say it was a 6-3 loss. There was a moment on the bench where Connor McDavid is sitting there just in disbelief saying, how is this my life? How did we get here? What's going on? And Leon Draisaitl gives him a little one of those. And what does he give him back? Do it. You give him one of those.
But the important part there is they didn't look at each other. They weren't looking at each other. They were just like kind of miserable, thinking about existential dread. But they had enough love in each other to know that the other one was feeling the same way next to each other, just saying, we'll be okay.
It was the most beautiful, this sucks, but it's going to be okay moment I've ever seen in sports.
Yeah, in retrospect, at the time, I don't think anybody looked at that and they were like, okay, season saved. But given where we're going to be headed with this recap and how things did turn around, you look back on that moment and it becomes one of the more iconic and symbolic moments of this entire season. Just such a small moment like that. And I also think that that is going to be an iconic and symbolic representation of the love that those two guys share and their bond in Edmonton.
So after that third loss, something happened that would become routine after losing streaks. A huge win streak. After dropping 3 games in a row, the Oilers rattled off an 8-game win streak. Skinner had a .934 save percentage during that streak. Then the Oilers, get this, lost 3 in a row again, and get this, won 16 in a row after, one shy of the NHL record. Connor McDavid had 26 points during that streak. Zach Hyman had 12 goals. And now it had gone from like, are they going to make the playoffs? What are they going to do? To like, are they going to win the fucking President's Trophy? The insanity that happened over the first just few months of the season for the Oilers was off the charts, especially when there was so much more crazy shit to come. During the 14th game of that win streak, during that win streak, a ton of stuff happened. They signed Corey Perry 13 games in, and then during the 14th game, the Oilers broadcast did something that only the Oilers broadcast would do during a 14-game win streak. They said, fuck this hockey game. It is Jack Michaels' birthday, and they brought out a cake for Jack Michaels during the intermission, and they spent the whole intermission of this game where they were going for a 14-game win streak, having Jack Michaels eat cake and talk about like, oh, I better not have too much cake. Yeah, you should have all the cake you want, Mr. Birthday Boy. Oh, found some pictures of you, Mr. Birthday Boy. Like, shit's on the line here, and it was birthday cake time.
And the crazy thing is, it's not even that ridiculous. And it's not as ridiculous as it sounds on paper because, number one, all the vibes were in their corner, and that team looked completely different. They had this air of confidence behind them. And yeah, they were playing a million terrible teams during that road trip. But guess what? They were looking very, very good. And you talk about Chris Knobloch, him coming in. How about Paul Coffey and what he did to that defense?
Mark Stewart.
I don't know what the exact number was, but there was like 14 out of the 16 games or something like that where they gave up 2 or fewer goals after a season that they spent the first month just bleeding goals, having no defensive structure. They have the best broadcast team in the entire NHL, and they were playing like adults. Let them eat cake.
Oh, perfect. Perfectly put. Yeah, the defensive thing cannot be overstated. It's crazy how they had gone from the Oilers, which we knew them as, trading chances, all that stuff, to really not allowing much, getting good defending, smart play, and good goaltending. During this win streak, by the way, I'll also add, PK Subban made a video saying,
Look at my penis.
Here's why, not yet. He said, here's why this doesn't really matter so much, because here's how the Oilers win games, and when you get to the playoffs, that's not how you win games. You can't just score a million goals. And we said, oh shit, PK Subban isn't watching these games, because like they are winning these games as though they are playoff games. Yes, the games were against the Blackhawks and the Predators and a bunch of teams that weren't amazing, but they really were playing great and were a force to be reckoned with. We then met Gene Principe and Bob Stauffer in Vegas and became fast friends.
Bob Stauffer a little bit less fast because he thought that we were pranking him.
Thought we were pranking him.
And we were like, no, we legitimately love you. Now Bob Stauffer is like our best friend.
Has Bob Stauffer ever been pranked, though? I feel like, I say this respectfully, like, I feel like if you prank Bob Stauffer,
he may not kill you.
Die.
Yeah, I was gonna say he may not kill you, but like the people in Edmonton will kill you for pranking Bob Stauffer.
Yes, yeah, right. Probably not Bob, but somebody kills you if you prank Bob Stauffer.
Yes.
Are you? I'm trying to think of anybody in Edmonton that I would want to prank.
I could think of a few.
Some of the meat, the media.
Yeah, like Jim Matheson.
Jim Matheson seems to have been
Mark
pranked
Spector.
by technology enough.
So, by the way, Mark Spector, for as crazy as he is, very nice guy. Met him.
Seems it. Yeah.
Met him during the Cup Finals. Very nice guy.
The win streak was over at 16 games, even though Connor McDavid scored the sickest shorthanded goal we've ever seen in our lives. We were there in person to see it.
Oh, boy.
Gasped. It was fantastic. The next game, Gene provided possibly the best open in sports television history when, on National Pizza Day, he dressed as a pizza boy and celebrated his Italian heritage. It'll be dropped in there. Incredible.
We got to have like the cannon in there too.
Gene Princino. Yeah, we'll put the cannon in there for the trade deadline stuff.
Yeah.
At the trade deadline, the Oilers added Duck center Adam Henrique, a move we both absolutely loved for how it would allow Knobloch to mix and match his forwards. They were quiet the rest of the trade deadline, but on trade deadline eve, the Oilers were in Columbus, where Gene did a hit from the cannon, and the cannon went off while he was talking, and he just freaked out, but it was amazing.
It's the true indication of Gene's professionalism and his talent, that no matter the ridiculous things that happen around Gene, he always has the perfect reaction.
Yes.
True entertainer.
March 24th, Zach Hyman reached 50 goals for the first time in his career. It was a feel-good story, but a Canadiens fan tried to dox him for having rich parents. Got his ass. The Taylor Swift of hockey. And in the final days of the season, it would appear the Oilers' first-round matchup, do you remember this, Pete, would be either
the Kings
Yep.
or the Vegas Golden Knights.
Now, what is interesting about these two matchups for the Oilers when it comes to the playoffs?
They always beat the shit out of the Kings, and somewhat quickly. Although there's some good hockey mixed in there, but the Oilers always win.
Yeah.
And the Vegas Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champions, seem to only get stronger as the playoffs go along. They hold players in the trunks of their cars that they release once the playoffs begin, and they tend to be really good players. You do not want those guys.
And they eliminated the Oilers last postseason on the way to winning the Stanley Cup. Plus the aforementioned win in late January, early February to end the 16-game win streak. It looked like it might end up being the Knights, but in the final game of the season, the Kings, who were leading, I want to say, by 2 going into the third period against the lowly Blackhawks, allowed 3 straight goals, had to force overtime, and then scored in overtime to win and make them Edmonton's first-round opponent. So the first round was an absolute piece of cake. Oilers eliminated the Kings in 5 games, marking the 3rd straight postseason in which Edmonton bounced Los Angeles. Stu was good. He had a shutout in there. I'll say there was very little to glean from that series because it seemed like a fait accompli that they were going to beat the Kings.
Yeah, and it was almost a disappointment that the Kings didn't put up more of a fight in that series. Because,
do you remember?
Like I said, there tends to be good hockey, even though the Oilers win. The Kings just kind of got rolled.
I want to say in game 1 of that series, I don't know if it broke up a shutout, but Darnell Nurse had an own goal that got Pierre-Luc Dubois on the board, I want to say. Like, that was like the only good things that happened to the Kings. And I remember saying to you, I was like, the Oilers are going to win this series so easily that, like, Darnell Nurse fucks
spotting them goals.
Is spotting them goals. Pierre-Luc Dubois, who just needs any sort of luck, gets a little bit of luck, and I'm like, don't care at all. Doesn't matter. It didn't matter. The Oilers won in 5 games. Second round against Vancouver, a bit trickier. The Oilers led game 1 4-1, but Leon Draisaitl missed the rest of the game. Edmonton allowed 4 straight goals and lost. That was I am in disbelief, what the hell is happening here sort of moment for the Oilers.
And that was a real, like, oh boy, this series is about to get crazy. Like that, you knew that series was going to get crazy from a fan base standpoint because those fan bases hate each other. A lot of talk about how much vitriol they shared, sort of the nastiness that they were going to get into on Twitter. That carried over onto the ice too because those boys were mean.
Yeah, the Oilers were at risk of going down 2-0 in the series, but McDavid tied the game with 5 minutes left, and Evan Bouchard scored the game winner in overtime to tie the series. I want to say that was our infamous overtime stream where Pete and I were bickering at each other over how well are the Canucks playing here? Are the Canucks proving to be a better team than the Oilers and everything? I was frustrated with that game because I thought the Oilers had obviously blown game 1. I thought they'd mostly carried the play in game 2 and really deserved to win. And you were like, yeah, but this could be 2-0 here, and maybe we haven't respected the Canucks as much as we should have because neither of us really respected the Canucks going into the postseason.
They were my season-long pick for playoff food. The team that had a really good regular season, wasn't ready to show up in the playoffs. Boy, was I wrong. Canucks showed up, showed me something, and that's why I was high on being like, damn, good for the Canucks. And you were like, shut the fuck up, I'm an Oiler boy.
That's right. My playoff food pick was the Washington Capitals, and that was
bold take.
That was very bold and correct. Stu Skinner, not good. I'll say very bad in Game 3 loss. What?
Artur Shilovs, very good.
Oh, Artur Shilovs. Yes, that's right.
Were the Edmonton Oilers approaching getting goalied territory.
Oh, God, fuck that. Yeah, I hate that sort of conversation so much. But yeah, Artur Shilovs, the 3rd string goalie, albeit a high prospect, a good talented player, was quote unquote goalieing the Edmonton Oilers while Stu Skinner, who we all know is prone to great stretches and perplexing stretches, was in one of his bad ways. He was awful in Game 3, allowed a really bad short side goal, which he can be got there sometimes, which is very frustrating, but he's still the best. I love him so much. I famously have a white Stu Skinner Stanley Cup jersey. But he was bad in that Game 3 loss. Really hadn't been good all series. And Knobloch went to Calvin Pickard for Games 4 and 5, which they split. And we discussed at the time, we were like, Oilers are in a tough position because Pickard's been solid. He's been fine, but if the Oilers are really going to go somewhere, it's got to be with the best version of themselves. And the best version of themselves is Stu Skinner, and Stu Skinner playing well. So Knobloch, with the balls of steel, facing elimination, went back to Stu Skinner, who, I mean, we had so many questions about his confidence and all these things. Like, how could your confidence not be absolutely shattered with losing your job?
You're just putting yourself right in the middle of the firing line if things don't go right for you with that decision. And Chris Knobloch still believed in his guy and made the decision, and I respect the hell out of him for it.
Yeah, and Stu, great in Game 6, allows 1 goal. Great for most of Game 7 as well. There's a bit of a comeback late from the Canucks that gave me a heart attack, but the Oilers win with 2 straight wins from Stu Skinner, and they advance to the Western Conference Final, which personally was I thought would be the toughest series that they would have the entire playoffs, because it was against the Dallas Stars, a team that had smoked them 5-1, I want to say, not too long before. Always kind of the most adult team in the NHL. Depth, old guys, young guys, goaltending, very hard opponent.
It was also the toughest test of our podcast relationship, because you firmly in the Oilers' corner as an Oil man. I had declared the Dallas Stars as my Stanley Cup champion in February. Had a ticket thanks to Sean, who pushed me in that direction. I loved the Stars. I believed in them as being the team most capable of winning the Stanley Cup. So that was the first time that we were going head-to-head as podcast hosts. That series did not play out the way that we thought it would.
It was... How did I say it? I said, I picked the Oilers to win, but I will also, like, lowercase e, expect the Stars to, quote unquote, put up a fight, if you know what I'm saying. I was very worried. Game 1 of that conference final was one for the ages. Game went to double overtime. McDavid takes a double minor early in that first overtime, and worrisome times for the Oilmen. However, their PK, which had been unbelievable the entire postseason, doesn't give up a sniff. Amazing stuff. McDavid gets a chance at the end of the first overtime and basically freezes in front of the net.
Fucking bozo.
Crazy, like,
guy stinks.
Like, can't do it in the big moment, Fox Sports 1 type of stuff where, like, people...
No, the light's too bright. Turn them off.
Talking heads could have been fucking insufferable with that. And then, what, like 10 seconds into double overtime, he scores. It wins. Gets them out of there. Unbelievable. Game 2... I'm sorry. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. The series proves to be predictably hard, and Chris Knobloch continues to shuffle his lineup, so much so that he brings in Philip Broberg, who barely played this regular season, and Dylan Holloway, a couple of youngsters, players that the fans had wanted to see in the lineup, but just not ready, just too inexperienced, et cetera, et cetera. Those guys come in, make a big impact, become mainstays, and Knobloch, again, looks like a very, very smart man.
Yeah, but before that, Rope Hintz got back into the lineup. Jason Robertson had a hat trick. Like, it looked like the Stars were coming alive, and that's when Chris Knobloch was like, ah, shit, maybe got to mix some things up, counter the life that you're starting to see from Dallas, because it did feel like at that point, the Stars were preparing to take over the series. Like, they had arrived. We've been talking about how quiet a lot of their stars were and being surprised at the depth not really showing up. And Joe Pavelski, absolute shell of himself during the entire playoffs. So Chris Knobloch felt like he needed to do something drastic and make a big change. We didn't think, and I don't think anybody thought, that those would be the big changes that he was going to make. Another big risk. And another big risk that pays off in spades.
Yeah, Broberg in, Holloway in, crazy stuff. And in such a tight series, any mistakes were magnetized. Two teams playing very well, tight games. You could tell if somebody doesn't look very good. So Darnell Nurse was getting his ass kicked because he was having a horrible postseason. There were points where he and Cody Ceci as a pairing were just detrimental to the team. People calling for Knobloch to split them up, which he eventually did kind of sort of, but he also liked going back to those guys. But Darnell Nurse, making $9.25 million a year, was catching a lot of heat. McDavid, though, gave a quote, said he and Stu Skinner were asked about Darnell Nurse, and he said, "I'll take that." And I'll answer the question. And everybody, the media fainted. They say, "Oh my God, what an amazing guy.
What a brave hero."
Edmonton won the series in 6 games, which was shocking, to head to the Stanley Cup Final where they would face the Eastern Conference champion. Around this time, a woman flashed her boobs at a watch party.
Hell yeah, brother.
And became the face of the NHL. So it would be Oilers, Panthers in the Stanley Cup Final, and Game 1 was a bummer of all bummers for the Oilers because they dominated, but Sergei Bobrovsky shut them out. Wild stuff.
He was a dog. Sergei Bobrovsky is unbelievable in Game 1, and that led to all the talk about the deserve to win a meter, its merits, and all that, and that was the discussion for a couple days after Game 1.
It was good discussion.
Do you deserve to win if you don't win the game? Bob inflicted a lot of fear in the hearts of Oilers fans because of how good he looked in Game 1.
I would say that Game 1 was a big bummer, and Game 2 was an even bigger bummer because the Panthers were like, oh, what if we actually play well in a game? And they were awesome.
Not only play well, like we play well and don't let you play at all.
Smothered them. Oilers go down 0-2 in the series, which heads to Edmonton, and it's a madhouse there. It's a crazy scene. Everybody's all excited, but a horrible second period does the Oilers in Game 3, so they fall down 3-0. Sad times in Edmonton.
And at that point, you look at the series and you say, the Oilers have lost and the Panthers have won in basically every way, because one game, the Oilers dominated. The second game, the Oilers were dominated. The third game, it was a 50-50 split. I think that there was like you could maybe say the Oilers had a bit of an edge in that game, but overall, both teams had moments of playing very well. And no matter what, it always ended with Florida on top. It really did feel like the Oilers had zero chance to win 4 straight games against a team like Florida, who we had considered one of the more adult and responsible and steady, consistent teams in the entire NHL.
Just tough to play against, really. Shania Twain performed before Game 4, so the Oilers blew doors. 8-1. What a scene. Rogers Place, Edmonton, the whole time, all night, was absolutely electric. You got to remember, these are 6 p.m. starts out there. So the city of Edmonton was off the freaking chain on that Saturday night. It was the best. And I'll tell you what, I was talking to people in Edmonton after the game, and we were all just like, they can kind of do this. We're not just like riding the vibes of a convincing win. Like, who knows? Maybe Game 5 will be the tough one. But if you win there, the series goes back to Edmonton. Connor McDavid said, not so fast. I'm going to word it way cooler. We got a job to do. We're going to go to Florida, and we're going to drag them back to Alberta. And then this didn't change the betting odds, but like the betting odds changed to Oilers heavy favorites.
I mean, the Edmonton, it was not contained. That post Game 4 optimism was not contained in Edmonton, because me and Sean back home, we were talking about it. We were just like, said before the game, what do you need to see from the Oilers to give you even a shred of hope for them? It's like they need to win like, I don't know, like 8-1 or something. They won 8-1 and they got a lot.
8-1?
No, but
Yeah,
we said they needed to kind of kill them. They needed a million different things to start gathering momentum with, like McDavid, with the power play, with the PK, like all of these things. You need a good game from Stu Skinner. All of those things came to fruition. You saw a ton of stuff give you hope. And after Game 4, you're probably like, yeah, they're not going to do it, but what if they do it? And that wouldn't have happened if they had squeaked by in Game 4. So Game 4 did provide a brief blip on that heartbeat monitor.
Well, the Oilers did indeed drag them back to Alberta in Game 5, despite Matthew Tkachuk's incredible efforts on what would have been a very sick Zach Hyman empty netter. Oilers win Game 5. It heads back to Edmonton. And how do you get to Edmonton when you're in Florida? What do you use, would you say?
A plane.
That plane provided so many of the hottest pictures in the world because Bob Stauffer had to keep traveling, and the pictures of Bob Stauffer getting on and off planes became a rallying cry not just for Alberta, not just for Canada, but for the entire galaxy. The hottest shit in the world.
Absolutely. And we didn't even mention the previous plane story earlier in this series, which was that the Florida Panthers didn't want to get on one. They didn't want to fly to Alberta.
That's right. They were afraid to go to Alberta, and we were like, go.
Game 3, they were like, we'll show up when we show up.
You also didn't mention the other plane story.
Which was the air traffic controller being a real Johnny the Joke man, trying to divert the Florida Panthers plane away from Edmonton. Man, a lot of plane shenanigans in this series.
This was a high series for plane shenanigans, high level of plane shenanigans in this series. The Oilers continued to get to Bobrovsky, and Skinner continued to hold it down in Game 6 as the Oilers won 5-1 to force a Game 7. And with that, they became the first team since 1945 to erase a 3-0 series lead in the Stanley Cup Final. What an accomplishment.
Yeah, and then it led to a discussion about, did they complete the comeback? Is a comeback complete when you erase a 3-0 series deficit, or do you need to win the fourth game to complete the comeback? What are the logistics on that?
We asked a lot of people who are good at their jobs, which is reporting on hockey and stuff. I think that we learned that those people aren't as good at
English
and like deductive reasoning and things like that. Connor McDavid, who had 42 points in the playoffs, one Conn Smythe, and then nothing else happened, and I didn't leave anything out of this. And that is the story of the most exciting season in hockey from the most exciting team in hockey. And yeah, that last part is probably hyperbole, but the Oilers are,
maybe not,
without question, the most exciting team in hockey. And I'll tell you this, every time I see Bob Stauffer, he brings up the, like, hey, I just love that somebody from outside of Edmonton has this view of the Oilers, because us looking at it, you never know. Maybe we're too close to it, whatever, but we think like this team is so exciting. And he was like, the fact there's a show in Boston where every day two people are saying, this is the most exciting thing in hockey. Everybody needs to be watching this.
Yeah.
He was like, it's very, it's reaffirming.
And it's the reason that I was okay with doing this at the end of like the first episode of the off season for the show. Yeah, it seems like a little self-indulgent to do like, oh, let's do like a whole thing on the Oilers and do the season from beginning to end. It might be, and it might make 31 other fan bases roll their eyes. But when you get a season that was as exciting and as turbulent and as fucking wild as what you just experienced with the Oilers, even though they didn't finish it with the Stanley Cup, like, you have to at some point sit back, zoom out, look at it, and be like, damn, that was fucking crazy. And damn, that season was fucking crazy. And we were very close to it because we followed the Oilers all year long. We had like some sort of emotional investment from it in it from day one, and it only grew because Edmonton people were so great to us, and we got to know and love all the media people there, and like they embraced us like crazy. But also just as pure hockey fans and as pure like entertainment fiends, and a show that names itself after loving the chaos of hockey. What a fucking chaotic season. What a bunch of characters up there. It was the best show on TV for like 8 months. How do you not spend some time on that to close out the season? So good job recapping it beginning to end. I'm sure there's a million things that we missed that we covered during the course of that season. But
Cody Cece's dog.
It was correct. They had a skills competition with their fucking dogs.
Bob Stauffer skating, and Leon looking at him like he was like, damn, Bob.
Leon being asking, why are you so pissy, Leon? Like, so many things happened.
When was that? That was a couple years, right? When was the pissy
Was that?
Leon? No, that couldn't have been this. That was.
I think it was last season, wasn't it?
It must. Yeah.
Whatever. It's all a part of the lore, and just so, like I just wanted to. It would have felt wrong if we didn't close this out without addressing how much we love the Oilers, how much they meant to us, and how much we hope that we were able to get some people who wouldn't otherwise care or tune in to be able to enjoy the entertainment that the Oilers brought.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is like we had to close the book for some other people's sake, but for our sake and everything. And closing the book doesn't mean like, okay, now we're done with the Oilers or anything. But like this was such an incredible story that if we didn't do some sort of all-encompassing thing, we might not get to any draft talk tomorrow or something. Like we need
have to turn the page.
We
at some
need to
point.
like empty the clip on Oilers stuff. But you know, we're gonna get. I'm sure we'll see another Leon Draisaitl quote tomorrow, and we'll spend 5 minutes on it or whatever. But yeah, there needed to be one big emptying the clip of this Oilers season.
Now the Oilers return to being one of 32 franchises, and if you're listening on audio, you just got the biggest wink ever from DJ at the camera. Not like they're obviously going to be a team that continues to mean a lot to us, and we're going to keep a close eye on them. But they are one of 32 again, and no longer one of two. And like 75 out of 75% of
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, at the end, we did get most of the reaction we got to Oilers stuff, probably from Oilers fans, was like, "We're so happy you're doing all this Oilers stuff." But we were getting a lot of stuff from non-Oilers fans who were like, "I don't care at all about the Oilers, but I care about you guys, and you talking about the Oilers makes me so happy." So like that was good. We would have probably altered our course of action if there was a loud enough cry to maybe be less biased. But this, we were wearing our hearts on our sleeve, and nobody was really against it. Like one guy today tweeted at me, like, "What about the Panthers?" And I was like, "We did 2 episodes on the Panthers the last 2 days." And he was like, "Oh shit, that's right. My bad. Love the show."
I mean, I did see YouTube comments over the past couple of days saying like, "Hey, Panthers fan here, been checking in with you guys throughout the playoffs. You've done a great job. Like, thanks so much for giving them the accolades, giving them a fair shake and things like that," which we weren't seeing that during the course of the playoffs. While
we just assumed that like everybody was mad.
Oilers. Yeah,
they were. Yeah, Panthers fans weren't mad.
Yeah, well, most of them weren't mad, and so thank you to the Panthers fans that did reach out and say nice comments and things like that, because there were points where we were worried, like, hey, are we going to alienate a fan base, and a fan base that might win the Stanley Cup this season and ultimately did win the Stanley Cup this season, but we just like we're emotionally tied to the Oilers, and I think no matter what, this was our first season, so there's no real like precedent as to like where we'll land on like playoff runs as they get deeper and whose corner we find ourselves in. That's something that I've wondered about. Like, what's next year's playoffs going to look like? Are we going to end up openly rooting for or openly like pulling for certain teams? And I think the answer is always going to be yes, because we do this show as fans and we do this show as people who just fucking like love the entertainment of hockey and always want to see what we want to see. And whether that's like a certain team or a player or just like the best possible matchup, we're going to be openly pulling for that with some lack of shame.
Oh yeah, like I mean, I'm rooting for the Oilers no matter what, but like we're big into the pet teams thing. We're like,
correct.
If a team is in some sort of way, good or bad, and it has our interest, what are we gonna fucking turn it off? Like I was really into the Blackhawks at points this season, even when they were bad, just because I liked watching their games.
And I generally think that like being passionate about something and being openly passionate about it, rather than trying to dull it down or numb it out for the sake of presenting yourself as unbiased, leads to a worse quality product.
Totally.
So like we're always going to be open about our biases. We're always going to give all 32 teams a shake, unless you're the Minnesota Wild, who are fucking boring.
Got to get more interesting.
Yeah. So thank you for anybody who had a hard time stomaching maybe our.
I know
our,
they didn't. But they didn't.
There were.
And that's the best part.
I did hear from some people who were like, I just had to like stop listening for a couple weeks because it was just too much fucking Oilers, especially after the Oilers beat my favorite team. I get that stuff. I appreciate the people who stuck it out, even if they didn't really want to, but they loved us, so they stuck it out. Yeah.
Our official statement is, we do not apologize. We would like to apologize to absolutely. Is that the quote?
Like to apologize to absolutely nobody.
I would like to take this moment to apologize to absolutely fucking nobody. The double champ does whatever the fuck he wants.
So that's my but it is so funny though. Like, I fucking left the show to go to Edmonton. That's so.
I abandoned my boys.
That's so fucking cool though. Like, and we're gonna keep doing shit like that. I don't know what it will look like, but like, I love shit like that. Where like, hey, this thing that's happening in hockey is just so fucking cool. It's just got to take over our lives.
And I mean, it's going to happen with other teams. It absolutely is. And the fun part about it is that all 32 teams are eligible to kind of win us over like this, and maybe not to the obnoxious degree that DJ leans into the Oilers fandom, and that's endearing.
Are you sure about all 32?
Be the wrong word.
What?
You sure about all 32?
Yeah,
I think it might be 31.
Are you referring to the Maple Leafs?
Oh, no.
Wild?
Nope.
Canadians?
Nope.
I want the
the
Canadians
New
to
York
be good.
Rangers.
New York Rangers.
Well,
The Rangers won't let us do stuff. Yeah.
The New York Rangers won't let us do stuff, but that doesn't prevent us from like being in on the New York Rangers.
I guess.
Shout out
that's
Chris
true.
Bayo.
Like I did like the Rangers during this run, and I was like, damn, Team of Destiny vibes. I'm not gonna pull against them because of their fucking owner, because I know that like a lot of their fans don't like their owner as well. So I think that when we're starting with a clean slate and all 32 teams are on the board, like I never would have guessed that we would find ourselves kind of pulling for the Anaheim Ducks and the Columbus Blue Jackets of the world, and like watching as many Chicago Blackhawks games as we did, even not for Connor Bedard. Like, there are things that pull at us and make us feel like a magnetic force to certain teams over the course of a season. And it is exciting now heading into an off season that you don't know where it's going to go. And everybody's got a shot to start from a somewhat blank page and make a case to be fun, to be interesting, and to command our attention. And like that is the one downside as the playoffs went along, is that we had to get like really into breaking down the tape, going into the X's and O's, even if it wasn't us doing it, but like bringing in Petey, who we love and is so good at it. Like, we got really into the minutia of like hockey. And when you look at what the show was at the beginning of the year, it was like, hey, check out all this cool shit that's going on from 32 different teams. I'm excited to get back to that and to open up the book in the world a little bit.
We contain multitudes.
Yeah. So I'm excited now that I'm going to miss the hockey games, of course, but I am excited that we are entering into a new chapter here for the show, and we're here in Vegas. We got a couple of days of shows coming up for the draft and everything that goes on around the draft. Very excited for that as well. Sorry that today's episode was not live. We are going to do our best to make sure that we can go live over the next couple of days. Hope you tune in. Hope you stick with us. And anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
I've got a late breaking jersey take. I would like to upgrade. However, I graded the Ducks jersey. I am crazy about this Ducks jersey. There's a picture of Mike Trout holding one up, and it is so good.
Share with me. Yeah, man. That's an incredibly wearable jersey. Why is... Oh, because he's an Angels guy. Isn't Mike Trout a Phillies fan?
I don't see Mike Trout as being a fan of anything. Too boring.
He's a Phillies fan.
Mike Trout is definitely not a Phillies fan.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. An Eagles fan. Sorry.
That sounds right, yes.
He's diehard Eagles fan, so that I would assume that he would be a Flyers fan. Also, isn't he... He's like really good friends with Bryce Harper? I could just be making all this stuff up.
Okay, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.